Hi, my name's Chrissy, and in the month of August, I watched 18 films, beginning with Groundhog Day, a comedy about a self-absorbed TV weatherman who gets caught in a time loop. Now, I'm not especially charmed by Bill Murray, but he's absolutely terrific here, and I had so much fun watching him explore all the ways he could exploit his situation. There's truly never a dull moment in the cycle of loops. It's consistently inventive and entertaining. My only real criticism is the final 20 minutes where the film leans hard into sentimentality and gets just a little bit too schmaltzy and heavy-handed for my taste. The ending too, I thought was incredibly abrupt and underwhelming, given he'd spent around 30 years reliving the same day. Still, aside from that, it's a great film, a solid 3.5 out of 5 for me. Then I watched Jane Austen Wrecked My Life, a French rom-com about an aspiring author who finds herself in a love triangle when she attends a Jane Austen writer's residency. I found this film to be the cinematic equivalent of a cup of lukewarm milk. Not offensive or bad, just incredibly bland. I wanted more laughs, more heat, more spice, more romance. It all just felt so restrained and aloof, which I'll touch on more in a later review because I do have a theory as to why this is. That being said, I did appreciate that unlike most American rom-coms, where it's painfully obvious who we're supposed to root for and who will wind up together, it wasn't so clear-cut here, so I was genuinely curious as to who she was going to choose, although I'm not familiar with any of Jane Austen's work, so if this movie was a homage to one of her stories, then maybe the choice would be more obvious to fans. Anyway, it's a fine movie, nothing spectacular, so it's a 3 out of 5 for me. Then I re-watched The Kid Detective, a neo-noir comedy drama about a washed-up amateur sleuth who gets a chance to redeem himself when he's presented with his first ever murder case. I'm not particularly big on detective movies. They often feel too one-note, that note being very serious. I much prefer when a film can balance its drama with humour, which is why I love The Kid Detective. It's both funnier and darker than you expect it to be, and has plenty of twists and turns to keep you guessing along the way. It's a slick film with a sharp script, but what really makes it stand out is Adam Brody's stellar performance, who delivers just the right mix of cynicism, vulnerability, and dry wit. If this one flew under your radar, consider adding it to your list. It is definitely worth the watch. A 4 out of 5 for me. Then I made the mistake of following up The Kid Detective with a rewatch of another neo-noir film, Brick. If you haven't seen it already, Brick follows a high school loner as he investigates the murder of his ex-girlfriend. I first watched this film when I was about 18, and having never seen anything like it before, I was completely blown away. However now, almost 20 years later, my feelings couldn't be more different. In short, this was an absolute slog to get through for a lot of different reasons. Firstly, everyone's kind of an asshole in this film. If not an asshole, they exist purely just to advance the plot. Secondly, I couldn't care less about the murdered ex-girlfriend, nor was I ever made to care about her relationship with the protagonist, which is kind of a problem when she's at the centre of his whole quest. The dialogue too, which had felt so clever and novel to me as a teen, now just felt needlessly dense, making the already convoluted plot hard to follow, even with the use of subtitles. Take this scene, for instance.
Okay, that for me again.
So what first? Tip the bulls?
Nah, bulls, gummit. And flash their dusty standards, the wide eyes, probably find some yig to pin. Probably even the right one.
I don't know, the film just feels like it's more work than it's worth, and I found it to be such a dull and dreary watch. Even the big reveal fell flat. I was so checked out by the end. The only thing it really is going for it is Joseph Gordon-Levitt, but I'm sorry, even he couldn't save this one for me. It's a 2.5 out of 5. Then I watched The Stolen Painting, a French drama about a high-end art appraiser whose integrity is challenged by the discovery of a long-lost masterpiece. This film left me with a similar feeling to Jane Austen Wrecked My Life and a handful of other French films I've seen of late, in that it feels like a cup of milk, albeit very expensive milk. It's led me to a theory that French films, at least compared to their American counterparts, tend to be more aloof and restrained. They're like the cats of cinema, cool, distant, self-possessed, while American films are like the over-animated, eager-to-please dogs. In my younger days, when I was a film studies student at university, I was much more open to that kind of understated storytelling, but since then, my tastes have skewed more American, making the style a bit harder to engage with. The Stolen Painting, while a very chic film, is only ever mildly interesting, and I couldn't for the life of me tell you what it was trying to say. Is it a film about money and class, the value of art, the pursuit of legacy or recognition? I don't know. I was also puzzled by the inclusion of several scenes that didn't advance the plot or offer any real payoff. And the only character I was emotionally invested in was part of the B story. That said, I was still curious enough to see how the story would resolve, so it's a 3 out of 5 for me. Then, as part of Myth, I watched Deaf, a Spanish drama about a deaf woman grappling with isolation and inadequacy as she navigates motherhood in a hearing world. This film is a powerful example of how cinema can open our eyes to lives and experiences seldom told. Without a film like this, I could never have conceived of or even begun to understand some of the unique challenges a deaf mother faces, and it does so with such mastery and nuance. One scene, where the protagonist is giving birth, is incredibly tense and upsetting, but not for the reasons you might expect. Another, when her child's kindergarten class celebrates her daughter's birthday, it is simply heartbreaking. Much of the film's strength lies in its authenticity and its deeply human portrayal of the protagonist and the loving, sometimes fraught relationship she has with her hearing husband, who you can't help but root for. Overall, it's a tender, insightful film that gets an easy 3.5 stars from me. Then I watched Ballerina, a very lesbian-coded action thriller about a former bodyguard who sets out to avenge the death of her best friend. Now, I might be getting ahead of myself given how many female-led action films I've still to watch, but this might be the most stylish and badass action film since Kill Bill. This guy's description of the film on Google absolutely nails it. In fact, I don't think I could describe the film better than he did, so do yourself a favor and check out his review. Ballerina, in short, is fast, it's lean, it's brutal, the stakes are high, the villains are villaining, there's a real emotional weight behind all the carnage, and the protagonist is a convincing and compelling action hero. If I had to get really critical, I'd say a few of the flashbacks exploring her relationship with her girlfriend were a bit unnecessary. There were also a couple of times during the fight scenes where I wish they'd slow things down a bit with the camera or shoot in a single take so I could properly take in the choreography. And lastly, I would have liked one brief shot at the end showing the two women from the hotel. It just felt like a missed opportunity for more closure. That being said, I absolutely love this film. As someone on Letterboxd perfectly put it, this is the female John Wick we deserve. It's a 4 out of 5 for me. Then I watched Planes, Trains and Automobiles, a comedy about an uptight executive who's forced to share a chaotic journey home with an exasperating salesman. I'm a bit bummed out about this film because, while I thoroughly enjoyed the planes and the trains, I didn't much care for the part involving the automobiles. I'd say for the first 2/3, the film is consistently funny, with plenty of laugh-out-loud moments. But then there's this long and unfunny car sequence where John Candy's jacket gets caught in the seatbelt, and it felt like the comedic equivalent of letting the air out of a tire. It just completely deflated the film's momentum and energy for me. After that, the humour didn't land as well, and I'm not even going to get started on that excruciatingly sentimental ending. It's a real shame because both John Candy and Steve Martin give excellent performances, but because of the film's overall unevenness, it's a 3 out of 5 for me. Then I watched Ghostlight, a dramedy about a grieving father who reluctantly joins a theatre production of Romeo and Juliet, only to find it echoes his family's tragedy. I had really high hopes for this one, especially since I adore St. Francis, which Callie O'Sullivan also wrote. Now maybe it was the timing. I did in fact watch this right after Planes, Trains and Automobiles when I was already feeling a bit deflated. Or maybe I was just tired, but either way I did not love this movie. It's a very well made, very thoughtful and tender film, but I personally struggled to connect with most of the characters and couldn't stand the daughter, who is pretty central to the story. So while I recognise the film's merits and the fact that I'm very much in the minority here, it is a 3 out of 5 for me. Then I watched Suze, a dramedy about a single divorcee who gets stuck taking care of her daughter's ex-boyfriend, whom she can't stand. Initially, I had no desire to watch this film. I'd seen the trailer and the premise felt like something out of a bad, naughty sitcom. However, its Rotten Tomatoes score kept nagging at me. I mean, it couldn't be that bad if it got 100% right. Also, it does star Michaela Watkins, who's never not great, so I thought, what the hell? I put it on and, yeah, Watkins is great, but it's really Charlie Gillespie's heartfelt performance as the immensely lovable Gage that really steals the show. Someone on Letterboxd wrote, "Protect Gage at all costs," and that's exactly how I feel. Typically, I criticize films that veer into heavy-handed sentimentality in their final moments, but this was the one time where I found myself desperately hoping that would happen. I needed Suze to disown her obnoxious daughter and adopt Gage and have him move in with her and take care of him and be besties and drink menopause tea together. But of course, what actually happens is far more grounded and true to life, but I'd be lying if I said my version wouldn't have been more satisfying. Nevertheless, this is a fantastic gem of a film that is both hilarious and heartbreaking, and I cannot wait to watch it again. It's a 4 out of 5 for me. Then, as part of MIF, I watched It Ends, a horror comedy about a group of college grads who find themselves trapped on a never-ending road. Should this film get a wide release, I highly recommend going into it blind. Currently, it's being marketed as a horror, but I think labeling it as such does the film a great disservice in that it sets up certain expectations the film isn't trying to fulfill. Yeah, there are some horror elements, but the film is more abstract. In fact, I'd say it's more akin to the 2004 mystery film Innocence than any traditional horror. Anyway, regardless of its genre classification, It Ends had me intrigued. The film boasts a unique premise, made all the more compelling by the 4 well-written characters who navigate their predicament with intelligence and humour. My only criticism is the film's ending. I recognise it aligns with the film's, metaphor, but I would have liked a more satisfying conclusion. In any case, if you're going to watch one film this year, set primarily in a car, make it this one. It's a 3.5 out of 5 for me. Then I watched Chasing Amy, a rom-com about a relationship fraught with insecurities and misunderstandings. Guys, I am so shocked. Having long since fallen off the Kevin Smith bandwagon, I did not think I was going to like this film, especially given the severe condemnation it received from the LGBTQ community, though I'm learning not to place too much stock in their official stance on films, given we're so rarely aligned. Now, as a millennial, I must admit, I am a sucker for all things 90s, but Chasing Amy is more than just a nostalgic throwback. It's funny and charming in that scrappy, crude way Kevin Smith is known for, and it explores a lot of still relevant ideas around identity, double standards, and sexuality, with what I'd say is a lot of nuance for its time. Someone on Google Reviews wrote that it's easily the best Kevin Smith movie, and I couldn't agree more. It's a 3.5 out of 5 for me. Then I watched Gunpowder Milkshake, an action thriller about an assassin and her team who set out to take down a ruthless crime syndicate. I cannot believe Paul Giamatti is in this film. It's like Disney tried to make a John Wick movie for family audiences, and by that I mean it's sanitized, it's artificial, and it's completely devoid of any real grit or danger. It even attempts to mimic the whole John Wick assassin underworld secret code weapon exchange, swapping out the sommelier and wine for a librarian and books.
We'll make these disappear and get you into some new, clean books. You'll need a Jane Austen.
A Charlotte Bronte.
And a Virginia Woolf.
The writing too is terrible, none of the characters feel real, and the lead has officially replaced Ana de Armas as the most unconvincing action hero. My God, the hat, the popped collar, the perfectly styled hair, it's all so manufactured and corny. The crazy thing is, this character is constantly spoken about with such reverence, as if she's some legendary assassin, the female John Wick, and yet, in the 30 minutes I managed to sit through, she's never once shown doing anything to earn that reputation. Presumably, the film ramps up in its second and third acts, but nothing I saw in its first compelled me to keep watching. So it's a 2.5 out of 5 for me. Then I watched The Killer, another lackluster action thriller, less cringy than Gunpowder Milkshake, but no less boring, although it did at least deliver a fight scene in the 30 minutes I managed to endure. Its only other redeeming feature is the female lead's brows, but beyond that, it's utterly forgettable. Another 2.5 out of 5 for me. Then I watched Reality Bites, a coming-of-age dramedy about a group of disillusioned college grads trying to navigate adulthood. The film shows promise until around the halfway mark, when it abandons the ensemble story to focus on one of the most frustrating love triangles I've ever seen. Seriously, are we actually supposed to like Ethan Hawke's character because he is the absolute worst? The fact that he's positioned as a legitimate rival to the sweet and kind Ben Stiller character is truly baffling, and what's more, it makes Winona Ryder's character increasingly unsympathetic for liking the insufferable jerk. Maybe had the film remained focused on the broader dynamics between the four friends, instead of fixating on its least compelling one, it would have been a 3 out of 5. Instead, it's a 2.5 out of 5 for me. Then I watched The Naked Gun, a reboot of the 80s comedy franchise about a clueless cop investigating the suspicious death of a software engineer. Look, I'm not going to try deep this movie. It is very, very, very dumb, and I had so much fun watching it. Check it out, it's a 3.5 out of 5 for me. Then I watched Late Shift, a tense German drama reminiscent of Boiling Point in that it follows an overworked nurse over the course of her shift. There's no real plot per se, just a candid look at her trying to juggle patient care amid endless demands. Now this may sound uneventful to some, but I can assure you it's anything but. The film is relentless in its chaos and pressure. Knowing that at any moment, one wrong move could cost a life really makes for a nerve-wracking watch. It's one thing to understand, in theory, how overworked nurses are, but to see it laid bare like this was something else entirely. I genuinely think this film should be required viewing. Every patient and every family member should have to watch this before stepping into a hospital. It's that illuminating. Leonie Beanish, I should also add, is phenomenal in the lead role as the nurse. The script offers very little in terms of her character's backstory, yet her compassion and resilience make her an easy character to root for. Don't miss this one, it's a 4 out of 5 for me. Then I ended the month with Hallow Road, a real-time, single-location thriller following two parents on a harrowing drive to the site of their daughter's car accident. For about 80% of the film, I was completely locked in. The premise was compelling, the confined setting worked, and there was a good steady build of tension and twists that kept things engaging. Not to mention Rosamund Pike, who anchored it all with her deeply sympathetic performance as a mother barely holding it together. But just when I was hoping the film would culminate in a dark, gut punch of an ending, it veers off in a direction that is so implausible and so disconnected from the world it had established that it lost me completely. Without giving anything away, the film's explanation of events, reportedly open to 2 interpretations, is unconvincing, unbelievable, and ultimately unsatisfying. It's a real shame because up until that final stretch, this would have been a 3.5 out of 5, but because of the ending, it's a 3 for me. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video or want to recommend a movie or share what you watched this month, feel free to leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. I won't be doing a video for September, but I might be back in October, so see you then!